No, your conduct did. So you can sit.
My conduct didn't mean anything either.
Right, Mr. Brooks, please sit down.
You keep changing.
And I'm going to continue with my sentencing remarks.
You keep changing the jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is a subject matter jurisdiction that has yet to be proven on the record. In
Mr.
that
Brooks,
court and in this one.
Please sit down.
I would like to go back to the other court.
It's not a courtesy to you. If you'd like to specifically waive your right to be physically present, then I will entertain that. Otherwise, you need to sit down.
I never waived.
Back and forth, represented, unrepresented, represented, now unrepresented. So that's a total of 4. And if I tell you that I am not, if I allow it, that I will not allow you to go back, do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor, I agree with that.
The evidence is going to show that law enforcement tampered with evidence to meet their such high burden of proof. Because originally, it wasn't enough. So we had to tamper with evidence.
3 defendants walk into a courtroom, all with narcissistic personality disorder traits, and if you watch these 3 trials, you already know the outcome. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the damn sofa. Y'all, that's the damn sofa behind me, and that's our little mascot, Mr. Roscoe. And if you've been following me, then you know we have moved recently, and this is the new sofa. Though it does look very similar to the old one, we are in new surroundings, and this is the first video we filmed here. And as you see Mr. Roscoe saying, hold up, wait a minute, what do we do up in here? Now, what we're going to be doing today, reading through the comments and hearing some emails that people sent to me, so many people were like, oh, if you looked at Daryl Brooks and Trevor, or Daryl and Ronnie, or da-da-da-da-da. And so I decided we are going to do a little, you know, Daryl versus Ronnie versus Trevor type situation. So the way this video will work is I'm going to put up some clips, and we're going to mostly focus on, in fact, that's all it is really, is the closing arguments that each of them presented, and some different things that popped up in there that I thought were, well, noteworthy. Now, that being said, I want to first of all say thank you to everybody who makes the Sofa Squad possible. Thank you to all the new members and subscribers that have come here. I greatly appreciate it, y'all. The sofa would not be here without you, nor would it be worth doing all this and conversing on all of this without everyone who makes this such an amazing community and keeps all of these victims' stories going and their voices heard and not completely stolen by their abusers or, you know, people who do these terrible things to them. Now, before we jump into it, we also need to make some room on the sofa. If you've been here, you know we love HelloFresh here, so let's see what they are offering up this month. Y'all, it's my favorite time of year and the most festive, and HelloFresh is here to help us out with it. This week, I tried the black bean and pepper quesadillas, tilapia with almond parsley grimalta, and for this video, I made the roasted garlic and zucchini flatbread that turned out amazing. Whether you're hosting holiday parties or just trying to make it through busy weeknights, you can always count on HelloFresh to deliver fresh ingredients and seasonal recipes, as well as save you money. HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery store shopping and 25% less expensive than takeout. You can use those savings for holiday gifts or go on and treat yourself. HelloFresh sends the perfect serving sizes to not only help save money, but also with food waste and less time in the grocery store. Now, if you follow me, you know I just got moved into my new place. It's been totally crazy around here, and this was my first meal that I cooked here. HelloFresh makes it so easy to work with your schedule. You can change your preferences, delivery day, and address in just a few clicks. Another thing I love about HelloFresh is all the different options. They have like over 35 recipes to choose from each week. You can choose from family-friendly, fit and wholesome, or even veggie, to name a few. Plus, you can easily customize your meals by swapping proteins or sides, upgrading your proteins, or even adding protein to a veggie meal. I also love that I know what I'm eating and can track my calories easily with all of their meals and stay on track with my goals through the holiday. HelloFresh's festive eats are also really cool. You can choose from holiday-inspired dinner recipes, seasonal add-ons, or even a 3-course offering designed to make holiday meals extra yummy and easier than ever. Whether you're hosting a holiday party or just stocking up on snacks, you'll find everything you need at HelloFresh Market. From quick breakfast to charcuterie boards and desserts, it's never been easier to prep for a party or fill your pantry. So go to HelloFresh.com and use code ReportingLiveFromMySofa21 for 21 free meals plus free shipping. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code ReportingLiveFromMySofa21 for 21 free meals plus free shipping. Be sure to check the description down below for all the stuff for HelloFresh. And also, if you want to watch these trials without my commentary, just Google these people's names. You can find the trials. You can watch it in full without hearing me talk about it throughout. That being said, let's go ahead and jump on in. Okay, so first of all, we're going to take a look at each of the defendants, like literally first minute or so of their closing arguments. Now, again, like I said, we're looking at 3 different defendants here. The first one is Trevor Summers. Trevor was accused of and convicted of manipulating his children to kidnap and assault his estranged wife. It was a horrible crime against her, against his children. He is where he belongs. But let's first hear how he tries to sell it to the jury.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon, Your Honor. Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, State. I'd like to just be able to share with you a re-representation of what we've heard over the last week. And I'd like to start with just helping you understand from the details that were given and consider that the condition of both myself and Mrs. Mathewson were not adequate enough to truly paint a picture that you could understand. If you recall, we spent a lot of time that weekend just talking, just trying to figure things out, wrestling around, fighting about a variety of issues. Some of them you heard about, some of them you haven't. But you do remember that we didn't sleep very much. Our emotions were all over the place. Our stress was high. We've heard these things through her testimony and through statements of others in this case. And so I ask you to please keep that in mind as you look through, as I walk you through the facts that were presented.
Now, as we see, Mr. Trevor tries to go with the old mannerly opening here. He goes right into his little, I want to present the facts. I want to do this. Hello, gentlemen. Hello, jury. Let's see how Mr. Darrell approaches it, though.
Good afternoon. It's been a long day. First off, I'd just like to start by letting you guys know that it's a lot of information that you guys should be privy to, I believe. And one thing that I believe that you have not been privy to is the truth of your rights and your duties, being the jury. The fact that you and you alone have the power, not well-prepared DAs with well-prepared and clearly rehearsed speeches and exhibits and a lot of theatrics. Frankly, not the judge. You and you alone have the power. You and you alone decide what is truth and what isn't truth. You should be informed that you have the power to nullify any law that you don't agree with.
Objection. Move to strike misstatement.
Sustain.
Objection.
I will strike from the record the last statement made by the defendant. The jury will disregard it.
Which is clearly what I've been saying.
Oh, Daryl. Now, if you watch this, you already know him getting an objection to his closing arguments was par for the course. He had to throw in an objection in there too. But notice he's going for the heartstrings and also the heart of his whole hot mess that he presented, which was nullify the law, just change the law, whatever you don't want to do, right? And so very interesting that both he and Trevor, both very clean cut, both very calm, that type of a vibe. Like they're very similar in that context in this part. And now let's go on to old Ronnie O'Neill. Another monster is right where he belongs now. Now, if you didn't watch this trial, it's another hot mess. He chose to defend himself, and he was alleged and convicted of brutally taking the life of his girlfriend, his daughter, and attacking their son. It was a horrible, heinous crime. He continued to victimize the children on the stand. It was terrible. So let's see how old Mr. Ronnie comes in for this one.
Mr. O'Neill, you need to speak audibly so that the jury can hear what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am, I haven't begun yet. I was talking to my father.
He talked about Mr. Khalil Brown, my neighbor who stayed across the street. But if Mr. Khalil Brown was a help to them proving me guilty beyond reasonable doubt, they would have called Mr. Khalil Brown. But I called Mr. Khalil Brown to be a witness for me. And I didn't ask him to lie about one thing that he saw that night. I asked him to tell the jury exactly what he saw that night. And you have to ask yourself why that is.
Well, we see that Ronnie chose to go with the evangelical sermon type style of closing arguments. Now, a couple of things that are going on here. I'm just going to do my little commentary now. So first of all, the first two dudes, Daryl and Trevor, relatively calm in this. Now we know Daryl will pop off, and Trevor has more of like a low-key, like just really dark energy. He doesn't necessarily get angry, but you can tell like behind closed doors he would be really scary. He keeps it together more during the trial. Ronnie comes in hot. If you looked up the definition of coming in hot, Ronnie's trial and his picture is next to it, okay? So right off the bat, he is just literally yelling at the prosecution, right? And again, one thing that I think we see with these defendants who do this is it's like a chance for them to say what they finally wanted to say, especially Daryl, right? He wouldn't ever shut up. And the same with Ronnie. Now, one thing going on here too is you notice Daryl's opening statement or closing arguments, his first minute is just, you know, whatever. Both Trevor and Ronnie are sitting here with evidence. Now, this is not to say that I'm giving them kudos or anything like that. They're all monsters. They belong where they are at, and they had no argument because the evidence was so powerful against all three of these monsters. But if you compare the three of them, it's so interesting how Daryl, I think, was just kind of like, yeah, I'm just off in La La Land. Probably more concerned with making a scene, where Ronnie and Trevor were trying to form like logical arguments, right? And again, Ronnie is coming in hot. He's coming emotional. It's extremely theatrical. I would almost wonder if there's a way to put these three dudes in the same cell with one another. Like if it was like one of those like 4-man cells or whatever they have those. I think it would be very suiting. Now let's look at a couple of clips, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at Trevor and Daryl because we basically just looked at the clip in regards to how the defendants utilize evidence, things of that nature. Now we just saw Ronnie. He immediately comes in that first couple of minutes of just shooting down key evidence with the prosecutors. They did this, they brought my neighbor up, but if they were trying to hide something, I'm the one who brought the neighbor up to tell the truth about me. So let's hear how Trevor addresses the jury. Now also notice in the background, his wife, his victim, is in the background watching this go on, okay, in the audience. So just know this.
I first ask you to pay attention to the photographs. As you walk through the photographs, I ask you to please look through them and notice things in the residence of Mrs. Mathewson. That there were no signs of a struggle. That there was not broken glass or dents in walls. There's not scratches on countertops or blood splatter. This was not a scene that depicted some kind of crime or some kind of anything more than what she described as wrestling around. And I also ask you to look and see that the things aren't thrown about as she described. Things are where they're supposed to be. You can see that we packed, we left, and we had a plan to go to my house. Her accusation is that she was tied to go to my house. But I ask you, does it make sense to go meet children with a woman tied up? I also ask you to look at the items that were disturbed by law enforcement during their 3 times investigating that home. There are a number of things, statements that were made, including a variety of articles within the home that weren't brought in front of you, so that you can't make conclusions, so that you can't corroborate the stories or the statements that were made here. I also ask you to look through the pictures of the vehicle. I ask you to consider that they don't line up with her stories either. Little things like the pancake platter sitting in the second row and not the third. Little things like a purse being full of all kinds of contents that were helpful to her, useful to her, that she didn't really need if the whole intent to take her somewhere and kidnap her or steal her car. Why would she need her purse? Why would she need her phone? Why would she need her charger? It doesn't make any sense. And I also ask you to look at the car handle. The car handle's far up in the front of the door. And her statement is her hands are tied behind her back. I think most of us understand that if you lean your back against the car door and you pull the handle, you're going to fall out. You're going to tumble on your head.
Trying to make it sound like they were on their damn honeymoon. Now, this is a man who kidnapped his estranged wife. They were separated, all that. She had a restraining order, all this kind of stuff. And he's going to pick through the evidence and try and make it out like she willingly went along, like she wasn't afraid for her life the whole time. Let's listen to what Daryl has to say.
I believe that not only is it fair, but it's essential that you be privy to all knowledge, not knowledge that certain people feel that you should hear and shouldn't hear, disguised under the color of law. The fact of the matter is, just like I did with my opening statements, I don't have a well-prepared or rehearsed speech. I didn't look in the mirror and say certain points to myself over and over again to make sure I have them right or anything like that. I've chosen to speak from the heart in my opening statements, and now I'm going to speak from the heart. What you won't hear me do is argue facts. And the reason you won't hear me argue facts is because I believe that it takes away from what should be recognized. The tragedy of this event, it should be recognized. Trying to argue facts of this, facts of that, I'm not going to waste your time doing that. It's a little emotional. I apologize for the long pause. It's hard to keep everything together emotionally. And honestly, I don't believe that I have any more tears left. It's been a hard year. for the families, mostly. And that should not be lost on anyone. It shouldn't be taken away. I said it before and I'll say it again. It's a lot of people that are healing, that are attempting to heal.
He doesn't want to argue the facts. The reason he really doesn't want to argue the facts is because he knows they look really bad in his favor, okay? Cute. Now, one thing that is so interesting with all three of these guys is that they have the cojones to get up there and literally, and I don't know what you even call it, like this cognitive dissonance, I don't know if that's the right word, but where they can just literally sit here and, you know, separate themselves from logic and reality and the facts and present this BS as fact. And I think they personally believe some of it. I mean, that's just what shocks me with each of them is they want to pick this apart. They have removed any resemblance of what they actually did. They've been able to set that aside and get up here and argue these things, and you're just like, oh my God, like you're aware you mowed down a parade. You're aware you took your daughter out with an axe. You're aware that you manipulated your daughter to let you in so you could kidnap your wife for days on end. Like, and you're gonna get up here and talk about she went with me because, you know, this was in her purse and this and that. How can you even do it? Well, again, these are just these type personalities. You've dealt with them in your life, then you know, and it is awful. Now, another dynamic that I want to talk about is how they interact with the state, how they try to come out and say, oh, this doesn't work or that doesn't work. Basically, just the way that they direct things toward the state, the evidence, and also how they kind of refer to themselves throughout these cases. So let's let the damn film roll.
What you've been hearing from the prosecution, and not to take anything away from them, but let's call it what it is. You've been hearing a lot of rerun. Same things over and over and over. No different than when you turn on the radio and you first hear that song that you don't like when you first hear it, but they play it so much that eventually you start saying it, the words to yourself before you even realize it. And then you sit and you go, I hate that song. Why am I singing it? That's what's been happening. Rerun. Over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Attempting to make things stick in your head that simply aren't true.
Now, this is literally coming from a man who repeated the same damn thing over and over and over throughout the entire trial. It's the level of projection that Daryl has is astounding. But let's listen to what Ronnie has to say.
Because he's playing a fraudulent damn recording of me beating Kenyatta Barron 15 damn times when that did not happen. And like I told you earlier, you will know the truth whether in this trial or the next one. Better believe it. If you think I'm here to play around with y'all, God damn it, I'm not.
All right, Mr. O'Neill, please stop using swearing language. It's not appropriate in a closing argument.
I cannot with this guy. I mean, this dude is unsettling, okay? Now, Ronnie goes for the different tactic of showing the jury his extreme anger, that they can completely visualize how he probably brutally took his family out, right? Not the best tactic, but also when you see the look on his face that he's looking at the prosecutor with and whatnot, imagine his poor children, what they went through, the look, the things they saw, or at least the young girl, his daughter and her last moments, but also his son who did survive. And then, of course, obviously his girlfriend. So it's very scary, but a very interesting tactic to show the jury this dynamic. But again, what's he doing with the state? He's denying, this is a fraudulent videotape. Whether it's in this one or that one, I'm going to win. I'm going to come back and I'm going to have the last word. Let's hear Trevor try to get the last word.
I also ask you to look at the Walgreens videos. Mrs. Summers goes into, or Mr. Summers, myself, and so I go into the store, but that's the opposite of the state's witness. He doesn't see me go into the store. He doesn't even know where I came from. That's his testimony to you guys. He doesn't know what kind of clothes I'm wearing. He doesn't know what kind of clothes she's wearing. But this is the main witness that's supposed to identify that the one single thing that he saw was her hands behind her back. He said her hands were behind her back, and I don't know how she ran out of the car. But were they tied? You have to make this decision. Again, I point to you, how do you get out of the car with your hands tied behind your back?
Now, Trevor still goes for this very beta male, like this, very calm, collected. I would argue that what Trevor presents in the courtroom, this calm kind of thing, is 100% an act. I think behind closed doors, he is way more like Ronnie and Daryl is, right? You see just the behavior, and if you watch this with like his questioning of his wife, his ex-wife at this point, and how he kind of handled himself up there, it's like that calm, methodic, narcissist, crazy person, right? And so I think that that's what he'll do behind closed doors. I think that his temper is insane. Who knows what he put his family through, right? Also, very interesting to note is when he refers to him in third person. He was very big on this. Daryl would do this. Of course, Daryl wouldn't even accept that his name is Daryl, right? Ronnie, same thing at times. It's like, my God, dudes. So let's go on to the next part of this You Know What show. Now, let's take a moment and watch a couple of clips from Trevor as well as Daryl in regards to intention, because I think this is another thing that was interesting between the trials, is when these defendants come up there, and this could be in any kind of a court case or anything like that, but especially the arguments that they were trying to make of what was intentional, what was not. We already know Sarah Boone, this is the center of her argument. If you don't know, Google Sarah Boone and be doing your research, because we're going to be following that one. Let's roll tape on Trevor.
Aside from this, gentlemen, I just remind you that from the beginning, I've assumed my presumption of innocence, and I maintain this until now. I assert that the state has not proven what was in my heart, especially regarding 2 counts of
Objection, Judge. Inappropriate requirement of the state to prove what's in his heart.
I'll instruct the jury that what Mr. Summers say is certainly not the law. In this case, the law will come from me, and the elements of the crimes will be contained in that law. Mr. Summers, restrict your argument to the law and the evidence in this case, please.
Yes, sir. I'll rephrase that, gentlemen. The state has not proved my intentions. They have not proved that I intended in counts 1 and 2 to kill Mrs. Anderson. In my statement in the hospital interview, I clearly never said I intended to hurt her. If you're relying on that, that's fine. I never said I intended to kill her with a pillow, and I never said anything about the rope. Never mentioned the incident one bit.
Again, look at almost the forced low, and I maintain this until now. It has to be infuriating for his wife to be sitting, or I'm sorry, his ex-wife to be his victim. Let's just call it what it is. To be sitting there and listening to him trying to be just so normal, right? Also, again, look at the objections. Now, again, these are people; they're not lawyers, right? So we don't expect that. I'll give them that. But listen to his argument for the intention. Like, they don't know if I was intending to try and take her life. Even though all the evidence looks like that, it really isn't what I meant to do. Let's hear what Daryl has to say about his atrocities.
Why do I say? What am I saying? I say, look at the testimony. The theme from the prosecution here has been intent, 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 intent. We all know what's been said. We all know the picture that's been painted. Even the prosecution said themselves. How can you look in somebody's head and say, this is what they intended to do? for a year, I've sat and gone through this. Feeling so powerless. You know, letting other people run with the narratives. Sitting back helpless while other people paint a picture that has zero truth. Zero.
Now, Mr. Darrell, of course, will try and argue that he didn't intend to mow down the parade, but by hook or crook, it just kind of happened, right? He'll come up with various reasons, the car malfunction, this or that, but it was not intentional. One thing that I think these people miss, and by these people, I mean these guys, Darrell, Trevor, Ronnie, whatever, is that regardless of intentions, it happened, okay? And the evidence will speak very loud and clear that it was intentional, that was in their hearts. So it's just interesting to me that they want to get up here and scream out loud that, like, look, you can't prove what was in my mind, basically, what was in my heart. And while you might not, we're not psychic, I get that, but the evidence will show that. And once again, just going back over the fact that they can somehow ignore all the facts of that and try and really make this argument of, but, you know, here's this over here. It didn't mean that. It didn't mean this. Blows my mind. Now, let's listen to what Ronnie has to say in regards of what took place or whatever with his situation.
You heard Mr. Khalil Brown. You've been hearing me for 2 weeks now, telling you that they committed criminal acts against me with the 911 calls and that fraudulent video that they just showed y'all. Now, I'm gonna prove it to you. You heard Khalil Brown. He said that he was actually sure that I only hit Kenyatta Barron 3 times.
Neek. This was very made popular by the Mr. Anthony Todd trial. If you're not familiar with that one, that's another monster. So again, with Ronnie theatrics, yelling at the prosecutors, doing all this, trying to revert it around to, you know, well, this is what really happened and the whole 9 yards. But again, he's already shown his anger. He's already shown this and that. Everyone knows, video, no video, this dude is off the damn chain. Now, on that note of video and all that kind of stuff, let's also kind of segue into a little bit of Trevor Summers, talking about some of the evidence in his case and how he approaches that. Let's watch.
And open a door and not fall out. I also ask you to look at that Walgreens video and see that it was parked right in front of the store. If someone's held captive in the car, I don't think it's logical that you would park right in front of the store. I think you would park somewhere where no one else might see that. I think you would probably park in a different way so that if you needed to, you could get out quickly. But the testimony was that the vehicle was pulled directly in front of the store, head first into the parking spot. I also ask you to consider looking at the vehicle not speeding away. There was no rush to leave there. It wasn't that much of a concern. It was a moment of panic. As you also look at the other videos, please look at the McDonald's video. Mrs. Mathewson is free to leave. It was a perfect opportunity. If this is true, if all this weekend, after 50 hours, all of these things were true, what better opportunity than there for her to leave? She had the opportunity to order what she wanted. She was not being held by myself at all. Now, I know the video played with a little bit of choppiness earlier. I ask you to watch it again and see if you can get it to play smoothly and see that, no, this is a agreed upon situation. We're in there together. We're getting breakfast. We're moving on. I also see that she is cooperative with me. She's using her purse. She has the contents of that purse. And there's no issue that whole time, almost 2 minutes of maybe even more, of going through that drive-through. Logically, I would not be able to get out of that vehicle. I had a seatbelt on, and my door would immediately hit a building. And again, a great opportunity for her to leave.
So as you see here, Trevor does a more, methodical, laid out, very simple. I'm going to break each and every little tiny thing down and talk about how it could be misinterpreted to make me look guilty, but also interpreted to make me look innocent, right? Now, again, if you followed this one, and oftentimes when you see these kind of cases like this where the defendant has had a lot of time to sit and come up with an alternate theory about this stuff, and that is a good example of what's going on here. They've been able to mull over this, they've been able to go over the evidence. Maybe not so much Trevor, because this is halfway through. I do believe, and this is just my opinion, that he wanted to represent himself, going back and forth so that he could question his ex-wife at this point. And again, he just kind of went back and forth playing the system because that's what these personality types do, right? So that being said, let's get to some of the very end where they're going in for the ask. What they're after in all of this.
Just like this tissue is in my hand, this is everything. You have everything. Be at peace with what you decide. Had no regrets. Don't let this decision weigh on you after it's over. Hopefully we got a lot of living ahead of us. Lord willing. Don't look back and kick yourself in the behind. Spend about 3 weeks with you, and took a lot of courage and a lot of guts to pause your life for this. To put important things on hold, to basically stop your life. You should be commended for being able to sit up here with this amount of pressure. I want you guys to know that's not lost on me. I'm sure it's a lot. And you all should be commended because it took courage to do this. I don't know, but I would bet a lot of people wouldn't want to be sitting in your position right now. And you guys had the guts to do it. Thank you for that. Thank you for taking pretty much a month and setting it to the side for this. I know it's probably not proper, but you guys deserve a round of applause if you could get one. Thank you guys sincerely, and I know, and I have faith, and I trust that you guys know what's right. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think it's fair to just say guys, but I believe in your heart you know what's right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before I give the state an opportunity to present rebuttal, please stand for a minute. So please stand.
So as we see, Daryl really can't bring himself to ask anything, but he's going to guilt them in a moral type of way, as if he just didn't, take out tons of innocent lives a year ago. He is going to somehow make others feel bad about their decisions of what to do with his life. Let's see what the other ones have to say.
He told you that I grabbed an axe and beat my daughter or chopped her to death. You don't know what happened to my daughter. But you better believe I know what happened to my daughter, and that's why Kenyatta Barron is dead. They told you nothing but accusations and assumptions and guesstimations. They have not proved beyond a reasonable doubt that I killed my daughter or stabbed my son. He told you way in the beginning when I wanted, you were going to say that because I know you're going to object to that. But he already said that I did not hurt him.
Again, Ronnie is somebody who's going to go around a very weird path to get around to asking for a not guilty verdict from the jury. He is going to blame the victim. He is going to deny what happened. He is going to get upset at the prosecutors, tell them what they are going to do. All things that would go in my top 5 list of never to do during a closing argument. Let's hear what Trevor does.
And so, gentlemen, reasonable doubt, I believe, is everywhere. And I ask you to please remember that and to please focus on that element that has to be proven by the time that you make these decisions about my life, about the situation that you've been presented, about deciding whether or not to find me innocent or guilty. I ask you to please consider all of these factors and see that what I am trying to show you is that this was a very abnormal series of events, and it requires a lot more information for you to draw a conclusion that would say that I absolutely am guilty of these crimes. And so for all of these reasons, gentlemen, I thank you for your time. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain this to you and to share with you a better understanding of putting it together. I thank you for allowing me to paint a little bit better of a picture, and I do appreciate your time, and I value your opinion on this. And I do ask you to please find me innocent of the charges against me, and to consider what else may be available to you as you are instructed by the judge.
Oh, Trevor's going to go with the old reasonable doubt argument. And unfortunately, there was zero reasonable doubt in his case as to what happened. The evidence was overwhelming. And like I said, all 3 of these monsters are behind bars where they belong. I do think it's interesting to look at the nuances, at the similarities that go on in these cases where they represent themselves, not only in the closing and opening arguments and how they try and frame that, because oftentimes in that, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I wouldn't be able to get up there and do this either, right? But I think I would never find myself in that situation that they're particularly in. And if I was, I think I would just be like, I'm waving a white flag. I surrender. Now, if you want to watch some of my other commentary on these crazy dudes, I've already done lots of videos on them. Be sure to check out this next video that's coming up, and I will see you on the sofa next go round.